Hi, Scorpio. So I'm going to go ahead and do your weekly reading here. I'm going to go ahead and start with the Galaxy cards. I love these cards so much. Okay. Anyway, let's just see what comes out for you guys, and then we will get some clarifiers and figure out what really is going down in Tinseltown. Okay, so the very first card out is Black Dwarf or Change card, which is always a good thing. Change sometimes can be really uncomfortable. Ooh, this card is really beautiful. I'll show you in a second. But it's definitely it's got a lot of mystique around it. That's for sure. So basically it's a change can sometimes be uncomfortable, but typically it's for the best. And even if it doesn't feel comfortable at the moment that it's happening, it typically is. It's good for you in the long run. Okay, then the Nebula Stardust and Transformation came out. I will just, let me pull the rest of these cards really quickly, and then I will show you exactly what I'm talking about. This is a fascinating set of images so far. Star Stability came out. Ooh, you guys, Scorpio, this is like interesting. Okay, I'm like into this right now. I'm feeling this read, to be honest. Not like I'm not always honest. Just kidding. I hate it when people say that, to be honest. It does make it sound like you're just, in general, a liar. Okay. And then Active Galaxy Turbulence came out as well. Okay, so Black Dwarf Change. This is the reason I'm like into this. Do you see the shadow of this planet that's actually shrouded in dark, but all around it, it's got, different clusters of galaxies that are lit up? I mean, that's just awesome. It looks like someone blew a black bubble into the universe. Basically, what I'm seeing here is that even though you may not be recognized at the moment, even though it might not be obvious to you at the moment, even though it's sometimes, like I said, uncomfortable to feel like you reside in the dark spaces between people, places, and things, it is actually really, cool and obvious once you are done with your change. You become visible, and this just looks like an eye to me. I've always thought that. And the Nebula Stardust of Transformation. So you changed, you've transformed. Sometimes this can be kind of, I'm hearing, cataclysmic, somewhat of a huge conundrum at the time that it's happening, but I'm just also flashing on this. I think NASA has I think you can hear, they recorded deep space and recorded the sound of the stars if they were being played. I think that's coming to mind here. You guys can maybe look it up. I don't really know what it's called specifically. I'm sorry. You can find it though, I'm sure. It's like, yeah. It's really cool though. They actually play the sound of deep space for you. And anyway, there's this idea of being witnessed. I'm just hearing heard, seen, and then star stability here. I am so into this. Look at that. Doesn't that kind of look like a small being of some type that's just dancing among this like star cloud just by itself? I don't know. I think that's awesome. I'm just saying. I just think that's kind of amazing. I don't know. The stability that comes from being able to change and transform, transmute your own energy, or be able to take a moment sometimes and acknowledge those things that are unseen, to be able to look at those parts of yourself that are unseen and like dance in the midst of all of it, is something that will add stability to your life. Undoubtedly. And especially if, deep space is something I've got a real healthy respect for. Same thing as like a huge body of water. Water is not something that we can breathe after we are born. Okay, so every single life form underneath the ocean is actually an alien life source to us to a little bit of an extent, because they can breathe underwater and they can move quickly under the water. You and I cannot anymore. I mean, when we were in amniotic fluid, yep, that was a thing. So once you're born and you've got your own ecosystem and your own comfort zone, then typically change becomes something that is a little bit, either you want to hide from it, like you kind of, I don't know why, I'm just seeing like veering away from it, or trying to protect yourself against it. Or, something that it kind of feels like a massive, when you've got a zit, it feels like everybody can see the zit and it's huge, but really, you're gonna notice it more than anybody else because that explosion is happening on your face. So I'm just saying here that coming out of that, I'm just hearing like puberty. Everyone goes through puberty and adolescence, and it's not necessarily fun for everybody. For some of us, maybe. But like once you come out of that and you've got your own idea of the future, of a bright future that you'd like to move towards, and you've had this moment to transgress between these points of, I don't know, when you feel like when you're taking the ACT or the SAT and you're like, oh my God, my whole life is coming to a screeching halt because I didn't get a perfect score on the ACT and the SAT. At the end of the day, once you get into college and once you actually apply for colleges, it almost doesn't matter at all. If you don't go to college, it almost doesn't matter at all. Some of the most successful minds of our time have not gone to college. So I think that everything in perspective, and once you've ascertained that perspective for yourself, once you've actually been able to take a moment to bring the dark things into the light, focus the lens a little bit for whatever direction you're going to be looking out into, then you're able to, find ways that you can reach from one point in time or space to another. And yeah, it is turbulent. It's a turbulent time. All of this is very turbulent, but it's also some of the best moments in life are the most challenging ones. So I'll just give you an example. Like I just told you about the ACT and the SAT, but also, when you go travel the world alone, when you go someplace where you do not understand the language, you don't know anybody, any of the people there, and you don't have a place to stay, you don't have, nothing. When you can just dive into that and then be willing to just take life as it comes, it's one of the most exciting moments that you may ever have. You might have to play a lot of charades, but it is actually, oh, I'm seeing a little point of blue light here. I don't know if you guys can see that. There's just a tiny blue light there at the base of this turbulence card. And to some degree, I think that's exactly what I'm trying to say, is that you find small gems and jewels of information and pieces and tidbits of knowledge from places that you would never expect to find them, ever. I think I learned a lot of, another language while in a country that I didn't understand anything at first. And it's because I was forced to play charades and I was forced to work with the people. I was forced to gain an understanding by way of my experience of immersion. And although immersion is very uncomfortable when you're like, oh, I just want to have a regular conversation with somebody in my own language and feel at ease and whatever, you learn so very much from immersion. It's something that can be invaluable in the grand scheme of life because it teaches you survival skills. And that mechanism is not something that everybody gets to experience at all times. So obviously, you know, like I said before, it's all a learning curve. It's all a process. But it doesn't mean that because the learning curve isn't big, or because it's not small, or because it's not the way that you pictured it being, it doesn't mean that it's not valuable. So one learning curve is not better than another. And I think, obviously you can immerse yourself in different things. You can go to an art museum and immerse yourself in art. You can go to a different country and immerse yourself in language. You can go to a shelter, an animal shelter, and immerse yourself with a different species altogether. Go in the ocean. Well, like I said, those are all, options, and they're ways for you to kind of stretch your mind open. Consider new ways of looking at things. I mean, the ocean is like a little bit, I'm in awe, simply because most of this planet is covered by water, more of it than Earth. And we actually don't know everything that's in the ocean. So when you go swimming in the ocean, you don't know what's in the depths. You can't handle it. I don't know why I'm just hearing, like, you can't handle the truth. Like, I'm just kidding. But I'm just saying, like, that idea to me is what makes me feel like I have a good, healthy respect for whatever it is that's down there. And same goes for deep space. Same thing goes for other people. You don't know what other people are thinking, what they're capable of, or what they're going to do in the future. So you can look at everything like that, and it does keep some childlike wonder going for yourself. But I don't know why that came out. Void came out here with change. Yeah, so keep a space available for change to happen. And because this card is so dark, and that void card is also really dark, it's about holding a space available for yourself to experience something new. And it's not something that is going to be necessarily fun for you at first. Just remember that and keep it in mind. All right. And then transformation. There's no love. Transform without love. So I'm trying to tell you right now, sometimes the only thing that you need in order to transform is yourself. And even if you don't like yourself, or even if you have criticisms of yourself, or even if you have if you have self-hate or self-doubt or whatever, it's a great reason to change. Okay? So don't let that stop you from being able and willing to push yourself beyond what you might think is possible. I've had days when I'm like, why? Why? Poor Kay. And then it comes down to the fact that I just needed to be jolted out of my norm. What is normal anyway, really? What kind of change would you want to make? So is it a change of, like, what do you love about yourself and what do you dislike about yourself? What are the things that you feel like are beneficial about yourself? And what are the things that you do not find to be much of an asset? These are all valuable questions to consider when trying to find a actual function spiritually, especially if you're going to be a practitioner of some type, and working with other people. Star, Saturn. Okay, Saturn actually represents your ego. It's being focused on. Look, there's the rings of Saturn there. Just go around Saturn over and over and over again. I don't know if you guys have read this book called The Ringmakers of Saturn. Very, very fascinating. I would suggest you take a look at it. It might not be the Ringmakers of, just look up the Ringmakers of Saturn, and I think it'll pop up for you, whatever book it is. It might not be of Saturn specifically, but it has something to do with considering other life forms that could be dancing out there in the ethers. And I, just keep an open mind about it. It definitely, when it comes down to stability and star stability, I think a lot of people actually have a misnomer that your ego is not something that you need. I beg to differ. There's actually your id, your ego, and your super ego. So yeah, if you've got a super ego and it's, to the point where nobody else can get a word in edgewise and you're just completely unable to make sense of things logically, then yeah, you might have an issue. But honestly, as human beings, healthy human beings, I really think we need our ego. Largely so. I don't think that we can actually say that we're stable, that we have self-love or esteem or worth for that matter without an ego. So, I mean, don't shoot me. I'm just the messenger. But I'm just trying to say, yeah, this here says, obviously, if you've got a space without love, then you need your ego. Literally, those came out in that order. In that order. You need your ego. It's not a bad thing to accept it and to say, hey, my ego needs a little love. Okay? My little loving. Let me see what else comes out for you guys. Scorpio. Scorpios are really good at existing in voids and black spaces, caves, scuttled off into corners and coves and whatnot. But, sometimes you got to come into the light and say, okay, honestly, this is really what's going on. I'm feeling unloved. Oh, morning star. So this is interesting to me. I'm going to show you guys all of these together. So we've got the change the space. Change your space. Maybe change your physical space. Like I was just saying, scorpions are actually known for living in little tiny holes, and they're really actually very docile creatures. They don't go out and just kill things for the sake of killing them. But if you piss off a scorpion, you're going to get stung. And I do mean stung. They have an outer exoskeleton, so not a lot can really break through that shell very easily unless you did something. Okay? You did something. But be willing to also change your space, Scorpions. Move things around in your black cove, your little cave mentality there. Make a new atmosphere for yourself so that your mindset will change. And automatically, because you are a Scorpion and so intuitive and such a water sign, and in that you can, I mean, Scorpions are actually some of the oldest. I think they might be prehistoric, actually, along with roaches. I'm just saying, they've been around for a very long time, and I think they came from the water. I think they were originally water creatures. They do look a lot like lobsters with a stinger on the back. Anyway, all I'm trying to say is that change your space up a little bit if you're needing some inspiration for changing your outside life. Okay? And don't be scared to say, hey, I'm not really feeling this. I'm not feeling this right now. I am not okay with this, or whatever the case may be. Don't sting anybody on purpose, but just if you need to sting somebody, do it. I'm just going to tell you, just do it. Because honestly, if you're really that miserable to the point where you're suffering in silence, Scorpions are not good at that. So the reason we have this stinger is to work as a defense mechanism. And rather than trying to be really nice about everything and walk on eggshells for other people, you just go ahead and do what you need to do. That's the only way that you're going to feel transformation, is by having the difficult conversations, by being able to say, hey, this is not okay with me. You know what I mean? Or whatever the case may be. And it doesn't mean that you have to step outside of your character. I know that sometimes that happens, but try to just transform a little bit. Try to use that stinger of yours in a pointed way, and draw SOSs in the sand instead of, hitting them where it hurts. But I mean, each to their own. I'm not going to argue. I am not going to argue with a Scorpio. Okay? I'm also have some Scorpionic in my chart, but I'm not gonna be the one to start the argument. I'll just finish it. So anyway, Saturn is star stability. So be able to say, hey, you know what? My ego has been thrown. I am no longer feeling like a star. I am no longer feeling important. I am not feeling the heat from the sun anymore. I am ticked off, and somebody has invaded my space without any regard for, like whatever it is that you need to do. Honor the fact that your ego might need a little bit of a boost or some loving and some acknowledgement. And then when you're looking at these two together, you can say, okay, you know what? My stability as an individual who resides on a lonely planet by myself with lots and lots of space in a cave or off to the side or whatever, in order to rejuvenate that relationship, I need to actually cause a little bit of a ripple here. I need to be able to actively reignite my star. Okay? Because like that's what I'm trying to say, is that ego is not a bad thing when it comes to being able to actually, I mean, come on, if in the grand scheme of things you can't see your way out of this hole, you need to have a guiding light, or at least some directions would be nice, you know? An actual bridge to go over would be nice, especially during turbulent times. Nobody wants to stay on a turbulent airplane all by themselves in the dark, okay? That does not sound fun. So even though you're dancing and you're trying to like, oh, I'm on this plane, like, and you're trying to be have a good time, just keep in mind that you might want to go ahead and enlist that ego and be like, hey, guys, I want down. I want to get back in my void here. I'm not feeling the love, and at this point, I'm gonna go back to my planet by myself and re-enlist the help of a star. I need that put down the, I'm seeing those the walkways off the airplanes right now. I'm just seeing, how the rich and famous, typically they let down the walkway from the airplane, and then the rich and famous person comes down and they're like, oh, hello world. That's kind of how I'm seeing you right now, Scorpio, is like you just had a really, really tumultuous flight, but you're supposed to keep your composure on the way down the airplane stairs. So you're like trying to fix your hair, and you're like, oh my God, am I okay? Like, is everything good? Am I all right? But you are coming down the airplane, like coming down the stairwells, okay? And there's like this space that you've just gone through, this hugely black skies and whole bunches of turbulence that would have made the normal person just absolutely crap themselves. But you kept it together, and yeah, you did crap yourself a little bit. But I'm just trying to say, it was only because you didn't feel any kind of love. And going through a transformation alone, or going through any kind of a situation where you don't feel honored, can really make just about anybody lose their stuff. And maybe they thought you were dancing up there. Maybe they were looking at the footage of you in the airplane on the way down, and they were like, wow, Scorpio is a really good dancer. But really what you were doing was trying to figure out how to surf the ring makers of Saturn. Like you were trying to make your own rings around Saturn just to keep your freaking balance. You know what I mean? I'm just, also seeing this is like if this was like a UFO that you were on, then the UFO was like wobbly the entire time. Okay? And it doesn't mean that the UFO was no good. Maybe that's just the way that the cookie crumbles. But I'm just trying to say, you know what I'm trying to say. That's all I've got for you today, Scorpio. You guys have a good one.